Hello and welcome guys to another episode of Prepare the Answer. Thanks for joining in. Today I've got a question which is, why should I trust the Bible? So here we are. What would I say whenever I'm asked, why do I trust the Bible, or why should I trust the Bible? I don't know what you would say in response to that question. Not sure if you know how to answer that. What I would say we shouldn't really say are things like, and maybe often we do say, are things like, well, I've just been brought up with it, or, well, that's what works for me. Answers like that aren't going to hold a lot of weight in many circles today, and probably never should hold much weight. We need to be able to explain why we believe the Bible, and what I want to offer today is 4 reasons. Before I talk about them, one of the things that I might typically say when asked is, why do you believe in the Bible? Why do you trust the Bible? One of the things I would say is, I believe it to be a reliable collection of historical documents that were written by eyewitnesses during the lifetime of other eyewitnesses. So that's the kind of statement I would use. Now I can unpack that a little bit and look at what that actually means. I've talked about its reliability in terms of history. I've talked about being written by eyewitnesses at the lifetime of other eyewitnesses. What I want to give you today is just 4 reasons why you can trust the Bible, how you can explain to other people why you trust the Bible, and put it in a handy little acronym to remember. So it's based on an acronym. The word is time. All right, so time. T-I-M-E, and the 4 reasons are as follows under each of the headings. T stands for time gap. So this is the first of 4 reasons as to why you trust the Bible. First one is time gap. What's that mean? Well, the Bible was written down, the events took place between about AD 30 and AD 90, and yet we know, and all historians, almost historians agree on this now, whether they're believers or not, they believe that the first book, Mark, probably written about AD 64, was written maybe only about 25 to 30 years after the start of them events. So they were written and confirmed today. Old theories have been written later than this are now being proved to not be true. So most people hold to this today. They were written by eyewitnesses during the lifetime of other eyewitnesses. What does that mean? Well, we're not very easily going to fabricate stories about Jesus, about what he did. They were written at a time when other people who were around could contest that them events took place or not. They were free written at a time when other people were still alive to confirm or deny that. And there's a serious absence of any articles out there written at that time to argue against what the Christians were saying, what we have in the written text in the Bible. So that's one of the things, the time gap. So it was written at a time when eyewitnesses were still around. Now, the 4 things that I mentioned are unique to the Bible. This is something very, very important to remember. They are unique to the Bible. We cannot say this of any other historical text. So this is where we can have strong convictions about this. So the Bible is very unique. It was written within about 30 to 60 years after the events that took place. No historical document was written as close to the events as was the Bible, the New Testament particularly. So that's T for time gap. I stands for internal consistency. So the Bible's about a collection of 66 books written over a period of about 1500 years, yet there's a remarkable consistency with what the Bible talks about in so many different areas. Also internally consistent in terms of reliability is the fact that a principle that historians look at in terms of authenticity is the principle of embarrassment. So one of the things you see in the scriptures is people consistently refer to themselves in a way that is quite embarrassing. They talk about themselves denying Jesus, talk about themselves running away, they talk about themselves getting it wrong, wanting to look the best whenever they should be thinking other ways. So we see this principle of embarrassment, and again, that's just proves the internal consistency of the writers, that they wrote in a way that left themselves looking awful, and maybe in some cases even made Jesus look awful. So that's time gap. Internal consistency is unique to the Bible. We do not have this in any other document, any other historical work. M stands for a big one. It stands for manuscripts. So the manuscripts we have for the Bible have to be seen to be believed. We have about nearly 6,000 Greek manuscripts, extant manuscripts of existence today, and 29,500 manuscripts in general, which confirm to the written text that we have, dating back to AD 300 and onwards. In fact, we have a text of John from AD about 130, so not that long after it was written. We have, and again, this is unique. The Bible is unique in this respect, in that the amount of manuscripts we have vastly outweigh the best 10 other combined. That's how good it is. The manuscript evidence is second to none. British Museum, it's not very far from our door. Down in Dublin, London, hold many of these ancient manuscripts. So again, this is unique to the Bible. This is strong evidence to testify of the reliability of what is written down in the Word. The last thing, some of these things are great. You say, well, that's great. Okay, so what was written down was reliable, but that can't prove it's divine. Well, this is the last bit comes in. The last bit is E, and it stands for evidence for inspiration. So what do we have about the Bible that's unique to prove its inspiration? Well, if somebody says something's going to happen before it happens, and then it takes place the way they said it would happen, and we can prove that it was written down before this event took place, in other words, a prophecy. And what we have in the Bible is over 2,000 prophecies have already been fulfilled. We can date them back. The Dead Sea Scrolls confirm when they were written. It confirms they're written about Jesus, and we have them fulfilled in the New Testament, which proves that this book was inspired. So we have time, the time gap, the internal consistency, the manuscript evidence, with evidence for inspiration. Again, this goes back to my original sense, a reliable collection of historical documents that was written by eyewitnesses at the lifetime of other eyewitnesses. This is not something we follow because it's fairy tales or because we've been brought up with it or because it works for us. Admittedly, it does, but we can testify strongly that I believe in the reliability of the Bible for, again, them 4 reasons. These are unique to Christianity. They are great evidence that we can use when we come up against friends or anyone who just contests for the reasons why we believe what we believe. So hopefully that's helped today. Please drop any comments, any likes below, and thanks for listening today.